Have you ever heard someone say, well, I don't have to go to church to be a Christian? I've heard it quite a lot over the years. And in fact, do you know it's not really a new thing? That's an attitude that has been around for thousands of years. In fact, the writer of Hebrews actually addressed this very question in Hebrews chapter 10. Let's take a look at what the Bible has to say about it. In Hebrews chapter 10, starting in verse 23, the writer of Hebrews writes this: "Let us hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering, for he who promised is faithful." In other words, let's not be unsteady in our faith. Let's not waver in our faith. Let us hold fast to the confession of our faith in Jesus Christ, because the one in whom we have placed our trust, he is faithful. Amen. And that's Jesus Christ, of course. So again, let us hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering, for he who promised is faithful. And let us consider one another in order to stir up love and good works. So if we are Christians, but we're not going to church, if we're Christians, but we're not in fellowship or contact with other Christians, then how are we supposed to obey this command to consider one another? In other words, to think of one another and to stir one another up to love and good works. In other words, to encourage one another to walk in love, to encourage one another through our good works, and to encourage one another to engage in good works. So again, in context, let us hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering, for he who promised is faithful. And let us consider one another in order to stir up love and good works, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as is the manner of some. So there were some, even in those days, who forsook the assembling together of the saints. And the writer of Hebrews is saying, let's not do that, because we are not to forsake the assembling of ourselves together, because if we do that, we're not going to be able to consider one another in order to stir up love and good works. Again, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as is the manner of some, but, or instead, exhorting one another. And so much the more as you see the day approaching. So the worse the world gets, the more we as believers should cling together in fellowship to one another in order to stir one another up to love and good works, in order to exhort one another, so much the more as we see the day of the Lord approaching. Now listen, saying that you don't have to go to church to be a Christian is technically true. It's true in the same way that someone could say, I don't have to go home to be married. But if you're married to someone and yet you don't live with them, what is that going to do to the relationship? Well, what is that going to do to the family? It's not healthy. So if we want to be healthy as believers, if we want to fulfill our purpose as followers of Jesus Christ, one of the things that God has called us to do is to encourage one another through love, through good works, and exhorting one another all the more as we see the day of the Lord approaching. So this Christmas, a lot of people are what we think of sometimes as Easter and Christmas Christians, right? They go to church twice a year, on Easter and on Christmas. Well, if you do go to church on Christmas, don't let it be the one time you go. Let it be the first time you go on a regular basis. Go to your pastor. Let them know. Say, hey, you know what? I just want you to know I'm here to help. I'm here to encourage. I'm here to exhort one another to love and good works. Help me to find my place within this body, because you know what? It's his job, the pastors and the elders and the teachers. It's their job to equip the saints, you, for the work of the ministry. So often we think it's the pastor's job to do the ministry, but the pastor's job in the ministry is to equip the saints to do the work of the ministry. So in other words, you have a job to do. Maybe it's time we got busy doing it. God bless you.